Hello, welcome to Unlocking Buddhism. Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a quiet forest. The morning air is still. Soft light filters through the trees. The ground beneath your feet feels steady, like it's been waiting for you. They say that somewhere beyond this path lies peace, a kind of stillness the world can't shake. They call it awakening, or enlightenment, or simply coming home to yourself. And so, with hope in your chest and questions in your mind, you take your first step. But what no one really tells you is this. The path isn't straight. It twists, it dips, and sometimes it tricks you. There are traps hidden in the quiet, not the kind that catch your feet, but the kind that catch your heart, your mind, your best intentions. Some of them look like perfection. Others wear the mask of comparison, measuring your journey by someone else's pace. Some are dressed as rituals, routines, rules, and some feel like wisdom, but only stay in the mind, never reaching the soul. Today, we're going to walk together through 5 of these hidden traps, not to judge them, not to fear them, but to see them, and maybe, just maybe, step past them with a little more grace. So before we begin, pause for a moment. Take a slow breath. Feel your feet where they are. And in the comments below, leave me one word. What does awakening mean to you in your life right now? Whatever it is, that word is your compass. Hold it gently, and let's begin. Can I tell you something important? A lot of people, maybe even you, maybe even me, fall into a sneaky little trap. It's the kind of trap that sounds responsible, even wise, but it's a trick. It says things like, I can't start meditating yet. I want to study Buddhism. This trap has a name, perfectionism. It whispers that you have to be pure before you begin, that healing can only happen once you're already healed, that growth is for people who are already strong. But none of that is true. Real transformation starts right in the middle of the mess, not after you've cleaned it all up. So let's sit here a while and talk about what's true. You ever think like that? Huh? How does that work? Or imagine this. There's a boy who wants to learn how to play guitar. So the guitar stays in the corner. Days go by, weeks, months. No music ever comes out of it because he's waiting to be great before even being bad. Sounds backwards, right? Here's another one. Think about a woman who buys a really fancy journal to write in. So the pages stay empty, day after day. And guess what? The perfect never shows up. Just silence. This happens a lot with people who want to grow spiritually too. It makes no sense. Let me tell you something really freeing. You don't need to be ready. You just need to be willing. No way. He went through doubts, discomfort, fear, but he started walking. And he didn't stop. Spiritual growth isn't a giant leap. It's not fireworks and golden light. It's more like walking barefoot on a rocky path. Slow, a little uncomfortable, but honest. One more example. Imagine someone with a brand new notebook, waiting to draw the perfect picture. They sharpen all their pencils, line them up just right, and then nothing. The first page is too white, too scary. I don't want to mess it up, they say. But here's what wise people know. Messy pages are the start of masterpieces. And that's true for life too. The first time you meditate, maybe you'll fidget. Your mind will wander. You might even fall asleep. That's okay. That is the practice. The first time you try to be kinder, you might mess up and snap at someone. That's okay too. You noticed. That's already growth. So next time you hear that little voice saying, wait until you're perfect, smile at it. And do it anyway. Do it imperfectly. Because real change doesn't wait for perfection. It waits for courage. And you've already got that, just by being here. Now let's slow down for a moment and talk about something quietly dangerous. Something that sneaks in when you least expect it. You're on your own path. Maybe you've just started meditating. Or maybe you're trying to live more peacefully, follow spiritual teachings, or simply become a kinder, more present version of yourself. But then, you see someone else. They look calm. They speak with wisdom. They move through life like they know exactly what they're doing. And suddenly, a little voice creeps in. That's the voice of comparison. And it doesn't whisper truth. It whispers fear. You see, comparing yourself to others is like trying to run a race while constantly looking sideways. You'll trip, you'll stumble, you'll forget where you were headed because you were too busy checking someone else's path. Now let me tell you a story. Imagine you're walking through a beautiful garden. There's a sunflower standing tall, soaking up the sunlight. Next to it, a small rosebud, still closed, still growing. The rose looks at the sunflower and thinks, "Why am I not that tall yet?" But the sunflower began earlier. It grows fast. The rose? It takes more time. But when it blooms, it's stunning in its own quiet way. Now imagine telling the rose, "Hey, hurry up." It would lose its beauty, its timing, its nature. And that's what we do to ourselves when we compare. We ignore the truth. Every path is different, and that's how it's supposed to be. When you see someone sitting still, eyes closed, calm as a mountain, it's easy to forget they once struggled too. They had racing thoughts. They lost patience. We don't see the hours they spent practicing. We don't see the days they almost gave up. We just see the result and compare it to our beginning. Let me give you a real-life example. A friend of mine once joined a meditation group for the first time. The moment she walked in, she saw people sitting perfectly still, silent, eyes soft. Her back hurt. Her thoughts were all over the place. She felt like a noisy radio in a room full of silence. But then, someone smiled at her. A woman who had been there for years leaned in and whispered, "My first day," and that changed everything, because now she knew. Struggle is part of the process. Everyone starts somewhere. Everyone blooms in their own time. So here's what I want you to remember. Your journey is not supposed to look like anyone else's. You are not supposed to walk their path. You are supposed to walk yours. Messy, beautiful, confusing, and true. And when you stop comparing, something amazing happens. You start seeing your own small victories. You notice that today you were kinder than yesterday, that your breath came a little easier, that your heart felt a little softer. That's progress, that's growth, and that's yours. So let go of the idea that you have to catch up to someone else. You're not behind, you're not broken, you're exactly where you need to be. Keep walking, keep blooming, and don't worry about what the other flowers are doing, because you, just as you are becoming something beautiful. And yet, even as we grow, there's another quiet place we can get stuck, a place that looks spiritual, but can gently pull us away from what truly matters. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Even things that seem deeply sacred, rituals, routines, traditions, can quietly become distractions. Let's say you light incense every morning. You sit on your favorite cushion. You fold your hands, close your eyes, and begin your chant. Everything looks perfect. But deep down, you're thinking about what to eat for lunch, or that email you forgot to send, or how annoying someone was yesterday. The ritual is happening, but the presence isn't. This is what we call the trap of ritual attachment. It's when the form becomes more important than the function, when the outside looks peaceful, but the inside is somewhere else entirely. Let's slow that down for a second. You see, rituals are beautiful tools. They're like anchors. They remind us to pause, to return. They can make the invisible visible. They can give shape to the sacred. But here's the danger. When we become so focused on doing the ritual right, we forget why we started it in the first place. Imagine this. There's a man who drinks tea every morning in a very particular way. He lays out his mat. He uses a special pot. He warms the water just right. He pours slowly, with grace. But one day, his favorite cup breaks, and suddenly, he feels lost. "Without that cup, I can't drink my tea," he says. But think about that for a second. Was it ever really about the cup? Or was it about the tea, the warmth, the stillness, the moment? You see, the ritual, the cup, the incense, the bowing, isn't the magic. You are your breath, your awareness, your effort to return to the present moment. The ritual is only powerful when it connects you back to your heart. And if it doesn't, then it's just decoration. Here's another example. A woman I know used to light a candle before every meditation. Always the same candle, the same scent. One day, she ran out of that candle, so she skipped her meditation. "I'll wait until I get another one," she said. But the candle wasn't what brought her peace. Her presence was. The candle just reminded her to return to it. It's like using a flashlight to read in the dark. The flashlight helps, but it's not the story. The story is still waiting for you, with or without the light. Now, don't get me wrong. Rituals can be sacred, powerful, healing, but only if we remember. They are the doorway, not the destination. If you bow to a statue but forget to bow to the people in your life, if you chant beautifully but speak harshly when annoyed, if you sit in stillness but explode with anger 5 minutes later, then the ritual hasn't yet become real. It's just paint over a wall that's still cracked. Buddhism teaches us this. True practice isn't about looking spiritual. It's about being present, being kind, being real. The Buddha himself warned against getting lost in forms. He said, "It's not the sound of the bell that matters, but what you hear inside when the bell rings." So yes, light the candle, say the mantra, sit on the cushion, but know this, those things are helpers, not the goal. The goal is your transformation, your clarity, your compassion, your ability to face life as it is, with an open heart. If the ritual helps you do that, wonderful. But if it becomes a performance, a routine with no soul, maybe it's time to close your eyes and ask, am I honoring the practice, or just going through the motions? Because the deepest ritual of all is being honest with yourself, and honesty doesn't always look quiet. Sometimes it looks like discomfort. Sometimes it sounds like a deep sigh you've been holding in for too long. Let's talk about a very quiet trap, one that hides behind a calm voice, a soft smile, a gentle nod. But underneath, there's tension, pressure, frustration, anger. You see, when people begin walking a spiritual path, they often think they have to act a certain way. Like there's this idea that being spiritual means being soft, peaceful, polite, all the time. So what do? We start faking it. We smile when we're upset. We say, "It's okay," when it really isn't. We sit quietly, while our chest is tight, our jaw clenched, our stomach in knots. It's like putting a beautiful tablecloth over a messy table, hoping nobody notices the mess underneath. But here's the thing, pretending to be calm isn't the same as being calm, and silence doesn't always mean peace. Imagine this. You're at the beach. The water looks smooth still, but underneath, there's a storm current, churning, pulling. You can't see it, but it's there. That's what happens when we push our emotions down, instead of facing them. We don't make them disappear, we just hide them, and like a beach ball held underwater. Eventually, it pops back up, harder, faster, louder. Now, I'm not saying we should explode with every emotion that comes, but we do need to be honest with what we feel. Real serenity doesn't mean never getting angry. It means learning to recognize the anger, to breathe through it, to choose how to respond instead of just reacting. There's a huge difference. Let me tell you a story. A friend once told me she had been practicing Buddhism for 6 months. She meditated daily, went to classes, read all the books. She said, "I feel so calm." But then one day, someone cut her off in traffic, and she snapped, yelled, slammed the steering wheel. Her hands shook for minutes afterward. She came to me and said, "I thought I was peaceful." And I said, "Maybe you didn't lose it." That moment wasn't a failure. It was a beginning, because she finally stopped pretending and started seeing. And that's the key. You don't have to fake being serene. You have to be brave enough to look at what's actually inside you. The anger, the sadness, the fear, the worry. Not to fight them, not to bury them, but to understand them, to sit with them like guests at your table, and to treat them with the same compassion you'd offer a friend. The Buddha didn't teach us to wear a mask. He taught us to remove it, to be present with what's real, even when it's messy, uncomfortable, or painful. Because true peace isn't built on denial. It's built on honesty and courage. So if you feel frustrated, say so. If something hurts, let it hurt. Not forever, not dramatically, just truthfully. And in that truth, you'll find something surprising, a quiet strength, a peace that doesn't need to pretend, a calm that rises, not because you forced it, but because you faced it. That is serenity. Not the fake smile, not the soft tone, but the open heart that says, I see myself, all of me, and I'm still here. And yet even with this honesty, there's another kind of trap, one that's harder to notice. It doesn't shout. It doesn't stir emotion. It sits quietly, looking wise. It's polished. It feels like growth. It even feels like enlightenment. But deep down, it's just another clever way to avoid the real work. This is the trap of intellectual knowledge. Let's be honest. It feels good to know things, to read the ancient texts, to understand the philosophy. To be able to quote the Buddha or explain the Eightfold Path to someone else, we feel accomplished, wise even. And there's nothing wrong with learning. Knowledge can be beautiful. It can light the way. But here's where we fall. When we start to think that knowing about the path is the same as walking it. It's not. Reading about letting go isn't the same as releasing someone who hurt you. Understanding impermanence isn't the same as accepting the loss of someone you love. Memorizing the word compassion isn't the same as showing it to someone who frustrates you. Let me give you a picture. Imagine someone who spends years studying how to ride a bike. They read books, watch videos, draw diagrams. They can explain gears, brakes, balance points, all of it. But when they finally get on the bike, they fall. Because knowing isn't enough. The body has to learn. The heart has to feel. And spiritual practice is just like that. You can read 100 books. You can chant all the chants. But if you can't pause when you're angry, if you can't be kind when it's inconvenient, if you can't forgive when it aches, then it's all still just theory. Real wisdom is born in discomfort, in the tension between what you've learned and what you choose to do. Let me share a story. There was once a man who spoke often about compassion. He gave talks, wrote essays. People admired him. One day, during a retreat, someone took the last slice of cake he'd saved for himself. He didn't say anything out loud, but his face darkened. He withdrew. All day, people felt the tension around him. And he replied, I know what I should have felt. And that's the point. Wisdom doesn't mean we never get upset. It means we notice it. We pause. We try again tomorrow. Because living the teachings is harder than understanding them. But that's where the treasure is. That's where transformation lives. It's not in how many quotes you know, but in whether your words soften when someone's hurting. It's not in how often you meditate, but in how you treat people who interrupt you. Knowledge is like planting a seed. It's essential. But unless you water it, through action, through presence, through daily choice, it doesn't grow into wisdom. So the next time you read a beautiful teaching and feel inspired, pause. Ask yourself, where is this teaching alive in my life? Where does it still need to be? Don't fall into the trap of becoming a spiritual librarian, full of information but untouched by it. Instead, become a gardener. Take one small truth, plant it in your day. Let it challenge you. Let it guide your hands, your speech, your choices. Because the world doesn't need more people who know what's right. It needs people who live it, especially when it's hard. And that begins not in the mind, but in the small, sacred choices we make when no one's watching. And now, we find ourselves at the edge of the path, not because the journey is over, but because every journey needs moments of stillness, moments where we stop, turn around, and look at how far we've come. We began with curiosity, maybe even with doubt. We spoke about the longing to awaken, to live with more clarity, more kindness, more truth. And along the way, we uncovered a few quiet traps, not to shame ourselves, not to feel guilty, but to finally see what's been hiding in plain sight. The chase for perfection, the weight of comparison, the emptiness of going through rituals without meaning, the pressure to look serene when you're hurting inside, and the comfort of knowing without really living. But now, you've seen them. And once something is seen, it can no longer control you the same way. You've taken a step. You've listened with openness. And that means the journey isn't just something you're watching. It's something you're already walking. So here's what I hope you remember. Growth isn't loud. Awakening isn't a lightning bolt. Most of the time, it's quiet, gentle, like a soft turning inward, like remembering something ancient that was always in you. And every time you notice a trap and choose differently, you are already transforming. So take this video with you, like a lantern. And whenever the path gets dim again, because it will, come back to these words. Come back to your breath. Come back to yourself. And if any of these traps spoke to your heart, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment with just one reflection. Maybe it's a moment you recognized yourself. Maybe it's a word you're carrying with you after today. And if this journey helped light even a small corner of your mind, click that like button, share this with someone else who might be quietly searching, and subscribe if you want to keep walking together. Until next time, go gently, go honestly. And remember, every step you take with awareness is a step toward awakening.